There's a whole lot of power in my view, free from extremes, beyond concepts. There's a whole lot of power in the heart of what's been pure from the very start. There's a whole lot of power in the meditation, undistracted and reference-free. A whole lot of power is what I find in the great clear love, in the great clear light. There's a whole lot of power when I act, because whatever happens I relax. There's a whole lot of power very easily when actions are natural, relaxed and free. There's a whole lot of power in the result of pure reality recognizing itself. There's a whole lot of power in the fruit of this great variety being naturally free. There's a whole lot of power in my Samaya. I precisely follow the Lama's commands. There's a whole lot of power because nothing is wrong. No vows have been broken, no harm has been done. There's a whole lot of power in my practice, because whatever happens I adapt to it. There's a whole lot of power because in the end all appearances are my friends. I say all appearances are my friends. Okay, so I think I'll go through this first and then do the questions. So the title is called The Sources of Power in this translation, but in actual fact I think it should be more like Reasons for My Special Abilities, because the word for power is tsal, and tsal is a special ability or skill that something has. So here's Milarepa, a very accomplished yogin, with these amazing skills and powers, and why? Why does he have? Why do I have these skills and powers? And why am I so able to benefit others and be happy whatever happens? How come? Okay. So the first one is because of my view. First reason, because of my view. And it's like in the Buddha Shakyamuni, in the sutras, he says, I realise the truth as it is. I don't hold views. I just know. He's reached that stage where he knows. So he has the view that's beyond concepts. It's no longer worked out in his mind. He's no longer thinking about it. He's no longer holding on to ideas about it. He just knows in a non-conceptual way. Totally spontaneously and totally directly. So that's why I've got all these special skills. Because I've got this view. And you hear that and you think, oh, I want that. That's what I want. Then the next thing is kind of, so that's sort of saying what he has as a view, and then the other reason why he has this special ability is because anyway, everything's primordially pure. Anyway, that's how things are. If we didn't cover it up with our misunderstandings, we would all have these powers, because that's how things are, actually. I mean, from the very beginning, there's never been a time when we don't have these powers. We just convince ourselves we haven't. And he's not doing that. So that's why he's got these special powers. It kind of reads in Tibetan, it's just a few words. Is it? Dene Dapa. So after each one he says, because of this power, this is one, this is one, this is one, this is one. So each verse is two. And at each line he says, one of the reasons is my view. One of the reasons is the primordial purity. You could say another reason, or one of the reasons is my meditation. And it's undistracted and reference-free, which means that he's always got this view. He never loses this view. It's always, whatever's happening, this view remains undistracted. And it's not focused on anything as its object, because it's not that kind of a view. So that it has no object, because that would be a concept or something constructed, wouldn't it? But it isn't constructed. So he never strays from that kind of awareness. So that's another reason why he has these powers. And the other reason is that anyway, the nature of everything is the great clear light, the Prabhasvara. Yeah, I think it just says Prabhasvara, yes. It's interesting when Rinpoche is talking, sometimes he'll say things like, we meet in the Ursa, we meet in the clear light. So we meet. Like there's no, in the clear light, or sometimes it's called the clear light mind, but it's when there's no separation into conceptualized subject and object, there's this power of the true nature of reality, which is complete clarity. There's no obscurations at all, and it has a power. It's not just light. It is actually all the powers of the mind, if you like, or the power and the mind. There's nothing other than the mind, if you like. It's like all the powers there are in this clear light, and that's another reason, because all the powers are in this clear light, and I'm naturally never distracted from it. So one power is due to my not distracted from it, and the other power is because the clear light has this power. So, and since that's our nature, we have that power. If we didn't grasp at things in this way that obscures it. The next one is another one, and one tsao, another tsao is, yes, whatever happens, whatever experience arises, I remain relaxed. So I was talking about this morning. Just relaxed. And when I think of this, I think of Rinpoche is always telling us, just relax. Whatever the problem, just relax. Just relax, just relax. Chill out, just relax. And that's how he has the power that he has. Rinpoche has the power he has. Completely relaxed mind. And that's really interesting because I can't remember who made the comment that so often we think dulling out is relaxation, don't we? Dulling out. It's relaxing to go and watch television or read a book or something so that I can switch off. He doesn't mean that. That would be distraction, really, wouldn't it? But he doesn't distract himself. He just knows how to relax just like that, which is a tremendous accomplishment. We think we know all about relaxation. It's work we find difficult. Relaxation is easy. Actually, relaxation is very difficult. Mostly we distract ourselves when we think we're relaxing. You can sort of understand why, because we got so attached to what we're doing and we're so obsessed with it that actually to stop and just do something else is like a break. but it isn't really relaxation. There's quite a lot to learn about that. Sometimes even when we meditate, we don't relax. We think, oh, I've got to do my meditation. I've got to sit down and meditate. Okay, okay, but we should approach it with, oh, I need to relax. I think I'll just sit and relax. They think, oh, I'm not really relaxed. Maybe I should come back to the breath a bit. Maybe that'll help me relax. Rather than, oh, I'm supposed to go back to the breath, isn't it? Okay, relax. No, not really. Maybe if I went to the breath, I would. Oh, yeah, that's it. It's a really different attitude, isn't it? That it's about relaxation. But this verse is about the way you conduct yourself in your life. So you've got your view, you've got your meditation sessions, if you like, and how are they different from when you're not in a session? Well, if you're Milarepa, they're not different, because you're relaxed in the meditation, undistracted, and it's the same when you're in your daily life. If you're like Milarepa, if you've got to that stage, you just maintain. It actually says my conduct is about maintaining relaxation in whatever circumstances and in whatever I'm doing, whatever's appearing, whatever's happening. I just remain relaxed, and that's the action that arises out of the meditation, arises out of the view of the meditation. That's the kind of action arises from it. And that has power. That has power because actually, if you say, well, how can Milarepa be so skillful in the way he responds to situations? Because he's so relaxed. You think, he's got very clever. No, he's just very relaxed, and then the right response just comes. And the next one is because I have this special ability almost like because of the nature of relaxation. It's like it's becoming tense and tight that we prevent our natural abilities manifesting. As we relax, the nature of the relaxation is that those skills and abilities are released and can manifest themselves. So if you want to be really compassionate, you think, well, if I rush around enough, I can help more people, more. But actually, if you could completely relax your mind, you could actually reach all beings in an instant and be able to benefit them in inconceivable ways. And that would be your skill. And that would just be the skill arising from the nature of relaxation. Which is rather nice, isn't it? Then the next one is another one of these abilities or skills is because he has the fruit of the practice. I think you've all heard of the base path fruit. Are you familiar with that terminology? So the idea is in the Mahamudra and Dzogchen tradition is that first you have to recognise the true nature, which would be, when you recognise it, like in the first verse, that's the base Mahamudra. That's what, if you like, that's what you're practicing, this view. How do you do it? And this is the second verse, is by not being distracted from it. And then, then the clear light manifests, the true nature manifests itself in a very alive way. And then that's the path that then becomes more and more, the clear light, if you like, becomes more and more evident, less and less is obscuring it. And then the fruit is when that's completely happened. And here the line is, the Dhammatta, he's got pure reality recognises itself. The term is mocha, which is often translated as pointing out your nature, or pointing out instruction for your recognizing your own nature. So sometimes Ngotra is used as if you have this pointed out for you, and that's the base Mahamudra that you then practice. But sometimes they say, no, that's not, that's just some instruction, Mengapo, Upadesha. The Ngotra really is the last stage when you get it and you're completely enlightened and it's stable. And so he's using it for that stage, he's using it for the fruit stage, if you like. So he's now got the result of the path, which is totally unobscured vision of the true nature of reality, which is here referred to as the Dharmata, the nature of the dharmas, I suppose you'd say, Dharmata, yeah. And Ngotra, the recognition that comes with being introduced. Actually, Ngotra means to introduce, so this is the real introduction to your true nature, which is usually said this is what the teacher does. The final great gift of the teacher is to get you to recognize the true nature of the Dharmata, which is both the teacher's true nature and your true nature, and it becomes very evident that it's actually an alive, if you like, meeting, that no longer, there's no difference, no separation, and complete communication, if you like. So that's the fruit of the Mahamudra. So that is another reason for his skill and ability, is because he has this Ngotra. He's got this final recognition. You know the story of Naropa and Tilopa, where Tilopa finally hits him on the face with a sandal. That's called a Ngotra sort of thing. I think it's not always a sandal. And then another reason why he has this skill and power is because of this great variety being naturally free. The expression here is Natsut Rangdrol. Rangdrol is self-liberated. It's a term that Khenpo Rinpoche used to use a lot. And I noticed when you look through his instructions on Mahamudra, his little sadhana, the self-liberation follows the Ngotra in the same order as this. Because I think when you first hear self-liberation, you sort of think things are naturally free in themselves. It's almost, you think, oh yeah, that must be right. That sounds right. But actually, to realise this is amazing. It's another way of talking about natural purity. That when you actually truly recognise the nature of mind, there's no more obscurations, then what's appearing or what's there, and that's all the beings that there are, all the Buddhas that there are, they're all appearing, and yet they're liberated. You could say, well, they always were liberated from the beginning, but you actually see it. And it's like a big shock, because you've been working so hard to realise the true nature of mind in order to liberate all beings. When you actually finally get the realisation, you realise they're already free. So it's kind of like, great joy, but at the same time, not what you expected. It's like you've suddenly lost your job, lost your occupation. But it's very, very closely associated with compassion. When I look at these two powers, these two abilities, the first one is clearly looking at the true nature, and the second one is clearly looking at the extent of that true nature. So that the first is you find it in yourself, in your own experience. This is pure from the very beginning, and then you but you then realise that this is the nature of all beings. So that they don't realise it, but this is their nature. So this is actually tremendous compassion comes out of that. Because you're realising it's not only that, that's the true nature, but these beings don't realise it. And this is the great variety, the natto, is all those beings that think they're not liberated, they are actually naturally self-liberated. Oh, what can I do? How can I help them? So it's very compassionate, that line. Then the next one is the Samaya one, which is very interesting, isn't it? You think, well, can you go further than that? That seems to be like as high as you can get, really. But it goes on and says, another reason for my having this skill and power, ability, is that what is the expression? Kadrup. Kadrupa. So, Lama Kadrup. Like when the teacher instructs you on what the teacher wants you to do is to arrive at this. That's all the instruction the teacher's giving, is for you to arrive here. So I have these special abilities because I have actually arrived at where my teachers always wanted me to be. So that I'm actually completely, at this Samaya with my teacher is absolutely perfect. Because I've arrived at exactly what the teacher was there to teach me and to get me to realise. And it's completely accomplished. And that gives me power. This is why I have the abilities I have. Because, in a way, I'm one with my teacher. I'm one with the lineage. I have that Samaya. I have that connection. I'm completely connected, 100% connected, 200% connected. I'm completely connected. So that's what gives me my power, if you like, is the lineage, is the fact it's not just me, I have the power, but I'm connected in this alive way, because, you've had the nurture, your mind is merged with the Guru's mind, if you like, or with the lineage, you're completely one with it, and that's what the Samaya is. There's that connection is absolutely perfect. And this is what gives me my powers. So often in the Mahamudra, Dzogchen, Vajrayana lineage, they talk about all our powers. The reason why we pray to the Guru is because all the powers will then come to us, all the siddhis will come to us. The siddhis will come through the adhisthana of the Guru, or sometimes it's expressed as the yidam. Well, that gets a bit complicated, so we'll leave that for another day. But this is what this is referring to, that I have this complete Guru Yoga. This is the result of Guru Yoga. The Guru and my mind are completely not different. So that's where my power comes from. That's my abilities and accomplishments. It's all coming through often they say, all my abilities, all my accomplishments come through the Guru, through the lineage, and that is talking directly about Samaya. Comes through Samaya. And that again hints at what we were talking about. It comes from other, but it isn't other because it is actually mine. In a sense, these are my natural powers. But I came because of my Samaya with those who've already realised it. So the last one is another reason for my skill and my abilities, is that I've not done anything to damage my Samaya. Like, if there's any limit to my abilities, it would be because my Samaya wasn't absolutely perfect. But you see these abilities I have, that tells you straight away, there can't be any fault. There can't be any fault in my Samaya, it must be absolute. Because I have all these powers. And I have them because And then the Nyepa, Nyetung Mepa, Nyepa is like there's no there's no fault, and I haven't. Yeah, I have, and literally as it says here, I haven't damaged anything, I haven't broken anything. You could say, I've completely kept my word. I said this is what I'd do, this is what I decided to do, this is what I was set out to do, this is what I've done. There's nothing there that's wrong. And that's why I have the power I have, the skills that I have. And then the last one is unusual for this pattern. I mean, there's a number of his Milarepa's songs that follow this pattern, and even contemporary songs that follow this pattern. There's a little bit of variation how they lay them out, but this one made me think about it, what it could be referring to, because it says, my practice. So you think, well, haven't we had action? We've had view meditating action, haven't we? So why have we got practice here? And the word in Tibetan is nyamlen. And nyamlen is very much, is really what we always translate, we translators always translate that as practice and practitioners, somebody who's, what are you practicing? What's your practice? What's your Dharma practice? It would be, what's your nyamlen? So you think, well, that's funny because, he's reached the final goal. So you think, does he have any nyamlen now? I was quite interested by this. I was thinking, no, Chendan se. So I think this refers, basically what it says here, but a ken is a conditioning cause, and it's usually to do with karma, that you've got some karmic result that triggers or awakens some karmic trace or seed that's in your alia, as it were, in the yes, I don't know how, I don't want to get complicated, but there is some seed from your past karmic actions, and these can be triggered in this life. An example would be in the life of the Buddha, where he was wounded in the foot, wasn't he, his heel, and people found that strange because he was a Buddha, so why would he have any karmic traces to deal with? But in fact he did. There's a story about how it was that he was able to be harmed in that way. So that would fit with this because it's right at the end, isn't it? It's talking about, so there's Milarepa. Things could happen to him that would look to be unfortunate, and they would look as if they were the result of karma. But what he's saying here is that I've mastered all of that. So it actually, whatever would arise, triggered by my karma from the past, I have the power to deal with it. I can deal with it. The form of the verb is gom, which is hard to translate it in the sense that it's something that's been fully accomplished. So maybe you could say mastered. So I've mastered this. I've mastered, even when things appear because of my karma, I've complete mastery over that. So that is another reason for my power, that you can try and, get at me, and demons can come and all sorts of things could happen to me, but I would be able to master it because I've reached that stage. So that could be quite impressive if you were trying to kill Milarepa. Is there a story of trying to kill him? They did try to kill the Buddha, didn't they? Somebody tried to kill the Buddha, but they couldn't do it because of the same power, I guess. He's got that same power as the Buddha. And then the last one is another line that Rinpoche loves to repeat, which is, all appearances are my friends. So that I have the powers that I have because whatever happens in my life, I welcome it. Yeah, I can make of it something that's positive and helpful for myself and others. So I welcome everything, and it's all like welcoming the guests, isn't it? Like, oh yeah, come on, it's all good. And Rinpoche loves that line. I mean, he repeats that often. Well, he used to when he could repeat things. So it's really quite something, isn't it? The reasons I have the power or abilities that I have. Okay. Shall we sing it again? If we sing it enough times, we'll start to remember it. There's a whole lot of power in my view, free from extremes, beyond concepts. There's a whole lot of power here in the heart of what's been pure from the very start. There's a whole lot of power in my meditation, undistracted and reference-free. A whole lot of power is what I find in the great clear light, the great clear light. There's a whole lot of power when I act, because whatever happens, I'm relaxed. There's a whole lot of power easily when actions are natural, relaxed and free. There's a whole lot of power in the result of pure reality recognizing itself. There's a whole lot of power in the fruit of this great variety being naturally free. There's a whole lot of power in my Samaya. I precisely follow the Lama's commands. There's a whole lot of power because nothing is wrong. No vows have been broken, no harm has been done. There's a whole lot of power in my practice because whatever happens, I adapt to it. There's a whole lot of power because in the end, all appearances are my friends. I say all appearances are my friends. It's quite inspiring, isn't it? Even if you understand it at a quite basic level. It cuts through lots of our concepts there. So that's that. And then your questions. Oh, I'd like to have your questions. So one is, could you give us some advice about how to practice right speech when it comes to issues of Samaya, especially when talking of other teachers and sanghas? Yes, I think with it, it's quite interesting because the word in Sanskrit, Samaya, has a whole range of meanings, and obviously the Tibetans didn't have a word that covered all that range of meanings, and so they translated it as Damsik, like word of honour. So it's very much about word. I mean, so you can see Samaya is about much more than just word, but for the ordinary practitioner, it's very much about word. That's mainly how we damage and harm our Samaya. So what advice would I give? Interesting, about teaching about teachers and sanghas, I noticed Tibetan culturally, this is where I've absorbed the culture a bit, and so I know how to find out from a Tibetan how somebody's thought of. Because obviously if you know there's something a bit dodgy about a teacher or a sangha and somebody asks you, you sort of feel, well, I should give them some guidance, but how can I give this guidance without actually, doing something divisive and damaging Samaya? And if you know how Tibetans communicate, you know what they would say if this was a very good Lama. You know what they would say. It's almost formulaic. So you just have to mention the Lama's name and wait and see if you get this response. And if you don't, you know something's up. So often a Tibetan would say, I don't know that Lama. I don't know him. And sometimes you think, yes, you do. But that's a good clue as well. And sometimes you can tell by what they choose to say, which would mean that they're choosing not to say something more positive. And the example I always remember was when we were talking about a Lama that I thought was quite dubious, and somebody was asking, is this a good Lama? And the Tibetan Lama who was replying said, well, they do have many disciples. And couldn't be drawn beyond that. So you thought, right. Whereas if for example, you said, well, having a sense of Rinpoche, you see a good Lama, they would have just gone into, Chensu Rinpoche, he's, they would have just kind of started praising away, and you just went, I see, okay. It's one. We're on sound footing here. But it is very tricky. It is very tricky. We don't have those kind of conventions. And I find myself quite often in that situation where somebody's asking me for guidance, and I do know things that I'd rather I didn't know. And try to find a way to... Well, it's what the Tibetans are trying to do, really, isn't it? They're trying to just say what good qualities they have. But the subtlety of that might be lost on a Westerner, because they wouldn't realise that was what was going on. But I think probably the safest thing to do is stick to what your own feeling is. This is again something Tibetans would do. So they might say, yes, I did meet him, or yes, I have heard of him. Yes, I don't have a particular connection. Or you could say something like, as you could say, talk about somebody else in a very strong way. So, yes, I have heard of him, but a very good Lama is da-da-da-da. So, there are ways that you could try to avoid stirring up stuff. Especially if you know somebody has a lot of faith in this Lama. And you don't really want to start a kind of schism or a sense of, my Lama's better than your Lama kind of thing. Which is easily done. Even inadvertently you can find that you're doing something like that. So you don't want to undermine somebody if they've got faith and it's not doing them any harm. But if something's going wrong and they're asking you, I think, okay, you could say technically it's not what you really want to be doing, but as with Dagmema, if your motive is really good, I think just to be as honest as you can, without exaggerating it, without exaggerating the faults, not saying because they have this fault, then their good qualities are negated, or because their good qualities are not negated and their faults are not exaggerated. So yes, they do have that fault, but it only goes that far. You can, just be quite accurate about it and put the emphasis on the good. And then the person's left to make up their own mind, aren't they? Because you've told them, there are these good qualities. And there is a downside that you might need to, take into consideration. It's up to them and what they do. But it is tricky. But certainly talking about your own feelings, yes, I did meet him, but I didn't find I had faith in him. He didn't inspire faith in me. He didn't inspire confidence in me. Well, that's all right. I mean, that's just truthful. That might be a fault in me, but it might be, depending on what they think of me, they might take that as, oh, that's quite serious. So, yeah. And you could express your feeling about that. Like you could say, I'm sad about that. I'd like to be able to say something more positive. So, if you're being genuine about that, I think that is helpful for the other person to hear. Sometimes they come back to you and say, well, you said that, but I met somebody and talked to them and they told me something quite different. And, your own view might change when you hear more about it. It's very tricky, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So did anyone want to say more about that? Why are we so afraid of our own power? It's a really interesting question, that, isn't it? Yeah. There's so many aspects to it. Like from one point of view, our own wisdom tells us that our ego tends to get involved if we start to exercise our power. Then there's some part of us that's thinking, yeah, this is me, let them have it. And then you're thinking, that doesn't feel right. So then you tend to come back too far into thinking, I better not say anything. So it's like, partly I think sometimes it's conditioning, because when you've done that in the past, it's all gone wrong. Especially if that's happened since you were small. Whenever you tried to assert yourself. I sometimes think it happens with very intelligent children. They're so intelligent that they're a threat to the adults around them, and they get told to shut up, and then they get to associate it in their mind with, if I start being too clever, I'm going to be really knocked down, so I'll not say anything and I'll hold back and I'll just pretend I haven't seen what I've seen. You're not stepping into your power. So I think a lot of it's to do with communication, learning how to communicate, in a way where people hear what it is you really want to say. I mean, this is why I like NVC so much, because it helps you step into your own power, because you realise how it is that it goes wrong. Because for a long time I knew it was going wrong, but I wasn't quite sure why. Whereas I got a lot of tips from the NVC that, that's why. I can understand it, and I can even see it. If someone does that to me, I can see, yes, I react. So of course I'm actually doing the very thing that I would react to in another person. So you can sort of learn to communicate more skillfully. But of course it's also to do with another sort of fear that we have, which is if we are small and don't put our head above the parapet and nobody can really see we're here, it's not so dangerous, and I can sort of hold on to my sort of little idea of myself and not be challenged. Whereas if I actually sort of open up and allow myself to be who I am, somebody might, come and poke me. Oh no, So it's sort of lack of courage. It could just be that, a lack of courage. I can, let me be out there. This is the whole of me, and then deal with the situation rather than try to protect myself before anything's happened. So I think that kind of defensiveness sometimes is just the ego fear. I'm small and helpless and easily damaged, so I need to protect myself when you don't touch it. I think another reason why we are afraid of our own power, if you think of my own power would be to relate to other power in a very powerful way. open out to other power, open out to the Buddhas, open out to other beings, like really admire their qualities and, approach them and kind of allow them to influence me. I think sometimes we think, maybe it wouldn't work. Like if I opened up like that and maybe there's some small print somewhere that says, yes, but not you. It's funny, isn't it? Like, or you're told all this thing, yes, you've got Buddha nature, all beings have Buddha nature, all beings are good by nature, and you think, yeah, I really agree with that. But I think there's some small print somewhere. It doesn't include me somehow. So it's a fear, isn't there? Fear of rejection, a fear of failure, a fear of being shown up, fear of not being good enough. So that kind of fearfulness, I think, we are afraid of our own power. Perhaps we're afraid we don't have it. Could be, couldn't it? I'm afraid I haven't got it, so I haven't got it. So it's an interesting question. And that actually, because we're afraid of our own power, then we don't really open up to the other power and allow it to, draw us out. So, interesting question. Anyone want to say more about that?
Does that relate to the literature you talk about the wall of doubt?
Yes, it does. Yeah, the wall of doubt. Because, why don't we realise our nature? Because we doubt it. We're so good at doubting it. And we hold on to the doubt. I mean, I noticed it in myself. This can't be right, this can't be this, but there's something else. Something's going to... Suddenly we're going to see why I'm actually wrong. It's suddenly going to be exposed. So even if I don't believe it, I can still recognise in myself that hesitation, which is, it's well known. This is what yogins have to deal with a lot. In the last stages of their practice, they have to go and break all their disciplines in order to get rid of their doubt that it's the discipline that's making it all right. If I practice enough, it's because of the way I'm practicing that it's making it all right. And you have to kind of break all that and realise, no, it's all right because it is all right. It's not some trick that you've learnt. I can really relate with that, can't you? A sort of feeling of, if I do enough, it'll be all right. And it's like having to cut through that, you're not doing anything that's right. Something's going to... You're afraid something's going to come up behind you and stab you in the back or something. I really recognise that. So we have to be brave, don't we? We just have the courage to step forward anyway. Sometimes our Samaya with the teacher can feel like it waxes and wanes. How can we ensure that our Samaya connections stay strong? We have to work at it, actually. We have to work with that confidence that yes, that connection is there, and it will, we have that Samaya. We can't actually get out of it. We can't just suddenly say, oh, well, actually, I don't have a Samaya after all. You can't be like that. I can't suddenly say, well, I never met you. I never sat here and talked Dharma to you. So that I can't be responsible for that. I mean, I can't get out of it. Here you all are, here we all are, that we've got this Dhamma connection. But then I could spoil it, couldn't I, by thinking, yeah, but they weren't much good, were they? They didn't really, I'm really looking for other people who have got better qualities or something. I could start to sort of think, this wasn't really, not really the kind of students I wanted. And you could think, she's not really the kind of teacher I wanted. So, and then afterwards you realise, oh, actually, I don't need to think like that because we have the connection. I can just honour that and appreciate that for what it is. You don't have to make it into something else. But we do, don't we? You know, you've got this teacher and you sort of, sometimes you feel they're so amazing, and then sometimes you feel a bit bored. Maybe you'd like to go and see another teacher. It's kind of, or you start to notice they've got very irritating habits. The way they say certain things becomes almost excruciatingly annoying. And you think to yourself, oh, hang on, I could go along with this and believe it and turn it into a problem, or I could actually recognise this is what my own mind is doing. You know, I could learn from this. This is, in a way, it's mirroring to me how my mind works. You know, it gets bored after a while, or whatever it is that you're doing, or it gets irritated after a while, or it starts to see fault after a while. And we do, don't we? You know, you start off by thinking, oh, you know, teacher walks in, wonderful feeling, they're perfect, you've only seen them during the course of the Dharma talk, they go away, you go away, and they remain perfect. And then you start serving them, and then you start to notice, they're not always so nice. I didn't like the way she said that, I didn't like the way she looked at me just then. And then you can sort of get really, as you say, you think, well, maybe I don't like them after all. maybe they aren't actually as good as I thought they were. So that's when you feel that, oh, I'm not feeling the same as before. I must try and crank it up. But that doesn't work either, does it? You know, try to crank it up. So you just have to get used to the idea. The Samaya's there. Sometimes it feels good and sometimes it doesn't. But it's not going to change. Because it's about Dharma and it's about the truth, and that connection is there. And you can make pranidhanas. You all know what pranidhanas are? You make, in Tibetan the word is mulam. You make a definite prayer of, may my faith in the teachers of the lineage become stronger and stronger as I practice. May I see all their faults as empty and all their good qualities, seeing them in them, may they arise in me, so that may this be a really good Samaya. And you can make a prayer like that. May my Samaya be very good. Some of you might know the prayer that we do on the new moon. Jamgon Kongtrul's prayer, praying to the Lama from afar. And in there he talks about that, like it's a well-known problem, that the more I serve my Lama, the more I attend my Lama, the less my faith becomes. It's a well-known trait, and that if you go away and don't see them again, your faith remains strong. So it's quite challenging to remain around. And then you just ask, please help me, because I don't want this. I want it to get stronger and stronger and more beneficial for myself and others. So please bless me so that. So of course when you ask for the blessing, you're reaffirming your Samaya, and the blessing can come because you're acknowledging your Samaya, acknowledging this connection, and then the blessing starts to come, and you notice it actually becomes easy again to feel that strong connection. So confessing it and making a strong wish for it to become stronger and stronger. Yeah, you have to work on it. So don't be surprised when you get probably more annoyed with your teacher than you are with anyone else. Because your expectations from them is higher. What you invest in them is higher. So you have a better potential to annoy you. A teacher can act from an outer, inner and secret level. Is this a helpful way of thinking of our Samaya connection to the teacher? Does anyone want to expand on that? Just asking that.
They've gone home.
Yeah, maybe they've gone home. left me to wonder what exactly they were thinking about. I wonder if they're thinking that you could have a teacher like, say, the classic one of Marpa and Milarepa. So externally, Marpa was definitely abusing Milarepa, but inwardly, his motive was to benefit him, and then secretly, well, it's all beyond concepts anyway. So what exactly he did or didn't do isn't the point, because the Samaya is pure from the very beginning and the connection is there, so it actually doesn't really matter what they do, because on a secret level it's beyond concepts. So there you are. I had a go. I've thought about that though. Then, okay. How do we relate Samaya with daily life practice? It's a lot about mandala principle, isn't it? Right? Recognizing your connections, your mandala connections. You've got various mandalas that you're integral to. So you've got your home mandala, and you've got Samaya with your children, with your parents, with your relatives, with your neighbours, with your friends. You've got all these connections that are going both ways, aren't they? And that's what creates your mandala, the different mandalas in your life. So you can see that going on all the time. And noticing what makes those samayas work well for the mandala. So if you keep very well aligned to your heart wish, your fundamental wish for well-being and happiness and wisdom for all beings, you're really, that's the centre, if you like, of your personal mandala, and you're aware of it, and you're nurturing that, and then bringing everything in your life in line with that, so that the different mandalas are all serving that one central principle. So you're integrating all the mandalas in your life, they're all becoming integrated with that one wish. And anything that's not serving that or nurturing that is getting not getting nourished and not getting fed, and is getting moving away towards the edges of your mandala, where they're not going to be causing any problems. And I think a person who's damsik dandemba, somebody who's trustworthy, is a person who's integrated, consistent, and their actions are congruent with their values. So if we're training ourselves to be congruent with our basic values, we're keeping we're keeping that trust, we're keeping faith with the world and with the world of awakening and the world in general. And it's really important. So, we may think, oh, well, what's really important is to get enlightened as soon as I can. So I'm going to go off and do retreats, and I'm going to do lots of, formal practice and lots of meditation. And you can get into that in such a way that you're almost obsessed by this ambition to do it to the best of my ability, but you're disconnecting from all your samayas, so that there will be consequences. There will definitely be consequences, because the samayas are actually, they're not separate from you. So if, for example, you've got children, you could say, well, in the life of the Buddha, people are sometimes shocked that he left his wife and children. And you think, well, isn't that, if we do that kind of thing, what kind of world is it going to be? You know, like surely if you've got a child that you need to bring up, you should bring the child up and then practice while you're bringing the child up, and then when you get the opportunity, leave and go off. I think that's right. I think when we think like that, we're right. It's exactly what we should do. So then you think, well, what are we to think of the life of the Buddha then? Because he did go. And then you think, well, yes, but if you look at the life of the Buddha, he succeeded. You know, that's the difference. It was the right moment for him to do it, because in the end he did benefit his family, because he did become enlightened. He benefited his whole tribe, the whole world. You know, he still continues to benefit us all today. So he kind of knew it was the right time at some point, in some way. And it's the same with when he sits under the tree. And he says, I'm not going to get up until I'm enlightened. Well, any of us could go and do that and think, I'm not going to get up till I'm enlightened. And it would be disastrous. But I do believe there comes a point where you actually, some inner integrity tells you, this is the moment, I'm not going to get up until I'm enlightened. And in the same way, this is the moment, I will leave the world and I will, you know, bring peace and well-being into the world by doing this action. But in general, you know, we probably have a very strong intuition that isn't quite going to happen. And if there's any doubt at all, you know, you would respect that and think, no, I've got this Samaya. And if you're actually keeping your Samaya in that way, it's almost like you can't actually be doing something frightfully wrong. It might not be the absolute best thing you could be doing, but it's certainly not wrong. It's certainly good. I think when Rinzin Shikpa was saying to Trungpa Rinpoche, when Trungpa Rinpoche had gone to America, and you know, one might wonder why didn't Rinzin Shikpa follow, you know. And he says, well, I said to Trungpa Rinpoche, you know, my parents would be so sad if I left. And then apparently Trungpa Rinpoche said something like, what did he say? Something like, can you remember what he said? He said something like, they'll always...
No one can replace you.
Oh, that's right, no one can replace you, well done. So, you know, you do have that Samaya. I think I would have asked another question after that, but it was acknowledging that there was a Samaya, that in fact to look after your parents can't be bad. You know, you might have been able to do something else, but it can't be bad. It's respecting that Samaya and nurturing those Samayas, and at the same time making that into your Dharma practice. It will definitely be good. It will definitely lead in the right direction. It will lead to good karmic results, and you know, if you make it with the right pranidhanas, it will help you on the path to awakening. So it's always risky to not respect them. You know, you could say, well, I didn't respect mine all that well, actually. I mean, my mum and dad weren't very pleased about me leaving. And I thought, well, what's it to you? It's my life. I'm not too sure that was a mistake. But, you know, there's probably other things I could have done. I probably could have done it more skillfully. It's interesting, isn't it? So, you know, being as honest as you can. And not being too proud. I mean, we make our choices. We don't actually know they're the best choice, do we? So we can just make our choice and think, well, it's not a bad choice, and it's consistent, and it's congruent, and it's observing my samayas. So that's my situation, and that's my best shot at it. And I think you can't expect more than that from yourself, really. So can we rely on our own discernment to notice when we are out of tune with our samayas? Or do we need others or other power? You probably will get others telling you. But they might be wrong, you know, you might actually... So I thought about this and I was thinking, you get a kind of feeling of being disconnected, cut off, alone, disempowered, scared, disheartened. And all those all kind of clues to something about the Samaya is not quite right about that. We can get that with our Dharma practice, can't we? It's sort of, you're practicing and then suddenly you get this feeling of, I don't want to bother anymore. This is too much. It's all too contrived. It's all like, I'm not even sure I believe it. You know, you think, well, is that a sign that my Samaya is damaged? I think it's time to look at it. Think, so what is going on? What am I... Quite often, what's happening is that we did have a sort of notion, an idea of how it was supposed to be, and we've been pushing in that direction, and then suddenly we get fed up with it. You know, kind of, we don't even want it anymore. And it's a really good moment to kind of look and think, well, am I just doing this because I think this is how I'm supposed to be doing it? And a lot of people tell me they do that. I feel I should do it. I have a kind of feeling, I ought to do it. I've got to do it. That's a really good sign that your Samaya with the practice is a bit impure. It's kind of got mixed up with feeling, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, rather than something that's coming from your heart wish for liberation, and in which case you would start examining what you were doing. You think, well, maybe I'm not doing, maybe the way I'm doing it isn't really serving my heart wish. I'm doing it in a sort of slavish way. Well, we're supposed to do that. If I don't do it the way they say it is, I will be failing, and then I'll be in trouble, and then it'll probably be a mistake. So I'll just keep doing it because otherwise people will think, or people will think this, or people think, that kind of contaminated thinking. The 8 worldly dharmas, isn't it? Wanting good reputation or praise, or wanting to be included, or wanting success. Well, it's not about that, is it? It's about being true to yourself, true to your heart, being consistent and integrated. So I think you do know in yourself. You do know, and you need to then check yourself. Okay, so how am I doing this, and why am I doing it like this? And actually, there's no reason why I'm doing it like this. Nobody's told me I have to go. I mean, yes, people encourage you to keep going, but not keep going in this kind of way, but just to kind of notice that kind of attitude coming up. And actually, then you come alive again, because you start to realise, this is the practice, to see this. And then from that you can get to find some other way of doing it. It isn't slavish like that. So when it's right, when your Samaya with the practice is really good, or Samaya with you're thinking of the Buddhas, or you're thinking of the lineage, or the Guru, if the Samaya is good, you do get that feeling of uplift. That sense of this is the right direction, this is what I want to be doing, this is consistent with what in my heart of hearts I want. Even if there's another part of you that's going, you could do something else, who are you? And then there's this little bit of a tassel, you could just zone out, you don't have to keep this awareness going all the time. And yes, but then where does that end? You only come back in the end, back here, so why not? Why go around the houses, why not come straight back? I don't know if that's what was meant by the question. So, if that's your questions, does anybody want to ask anything else?
I just wanted to know, what is the type of
Hluppa.
Hluppa.
Or hluppa. It's either hluppa or hluppa. Yes.
And there's a difference in the kind of relaxation.
I don't think so, no, I think I looked it up in the dictionary just this week. And it seemed to just say equal. Hluppo. Is it hluppa or hluppo? Hluppo and hluppa, because this says hluppo, and I was used to hluppo, so I wanted to see whether hluppo and hluppo were the same. And they were. La haptaha nara hlta hl, or la hapta la shabju ga hlukpa. Yeah.
I think I was just interested in, there's so many implications or so many different words.
That's right. Yeah, there's a lot of words for naturalness. But this is relax, loose, relax. Yeah. Yeah.
Can I ask you something to do with that? Does it apply both to the mind and the body
Yes.
at the same time?
Yes.
Because you can't do one without the other, can you? Maybe you can, but it's such a...
No, they do come together. They're not really separate. Yeah.
And if you broke down those syllables you just told Georgie, what would it mean?
I don't know.
No.
Hluppa seemed to mean loose.
Loose.
Hluppa seems to mean the same actually, loose or relaxed. Yeah.
So in the song we've been singing, The Sources of Power, because the first verse soft that, he's got this view.
Yeah.
So it seems like there should be like a few verses before that one, to get to the where he's got the view. You see what I mean? Like, so he's already got the view, which allows him to meditate and be relaxed.
Yeah.
So for us, it's almost like we have to start off with a little bit of view.
Yes, we haven't got, that's right.
And then kind of...
Yeah, no, this is definitely talking about, his realisation. I know when Jim translates these, he translates them as if they're instructions for the ordinary person. But actually in the Tibetan, they're actually in the style of a yogin expressing his realisation, and that how surprising it is, because he can do these things. But when Jim does this and turns it into instructions for us, sometimes it works quite well. I mean, people find them quite inspiring. So I thought, well, okay. I mean, we might eventually translate it more in the way Milarepa was singing it. But in a way, it sort of sounds almost as if you could do it, doesn't it? It's like saying...
Made me think of
often in these songs.
Made me think of the spiral learning.
No, I think it works like that. So I think maybe that's what Rinpoche is relying on. Because he wasn't very, we told him that, they're changing quite a lot in the way they're being translated. And Rinpoche didn't seem to mind. And I think that probably he had this intuition that it was spiral learning, and that if people knew these by heart and they kept singing it, then they'd start wondering about it, and then they could get teaching on it, and it would just gradually go in. So, and I think he's probably right, actually. People do find them very helpful.
I was going to ask about the view. Presumably it's the view of Majamika, isn't it? Non-duality.
Prasangiha Majamika,
Yeah.
Could say, or Shentong. I would say it's Shentong because he talks about the clear light. And anyway, it's Mahamudra, and I would always say it was Shentong.
Is that Shentong as against Rekha?
Well...
Or is that am I getting muddled up?
No, you're not getting muddled up. Sometimes, when you talk about Rangtong and Shentong, you might just be talking about illusion is self-empty, and the clear light is not empty of itself. It is a clear light. But you might be saying, actually, even the clear light is self-empty. In which case, you're in opposition to a Shentong view, which would say, no, definitely not. The clear light is not self-empty. And that's where the row is.
Right, okay.
But the Shentongpas would say definitely that illusory things, conditioned things, are self-empty.
Conditioned things, but
yes.
the clear light is
but what
beyond
is, it's not
things.
conditioned.
It's like space.
So what is not conditioned is not empty in the same way that an illusion is empty, because it's real. So you've got to have a different way of talking about it. And so Shentong includes Rangtong, but there are some Rangtongers who reject that the reality of the clear light as being non-conditioned. And so that's where the row is.
I see. Oh, that's very interesting.
So, somebody, is that George?
Yeah, I was going to say, oh yes. Is this something to do here as well, somehow with self and others? It's a bit like the chicken and egg, that you need the view to follow the path, but of course you can't get the view unless you follow the path. This is the chicken and egg.
Yes. Yes. Well, it depends what you're calling the path. There's a path, if you like, that you're following when you haven't got the view. You know, you talk about the 5 paths in Buddhism, you've got the path of accumulation. So the path of accumulation, you haven't got the view. So you're just accumulating the right circumstances so that the view can arise. And the conditions come together so the view can arise. And then that's in the Ten Bhumi system scheme, you would get the view of the first bhumi, and then it would develop through the bhumis until you reach the 10th bhumi, which is Buddhahood. In the Mahamudra and Dzogchen, let's say Mahamudra system, you get the view, but it's just a glimpse, and then that stabilizes, and then you've got one-pointedness, which is he's talking about here. He's undistracted. He's always that's a one-pointedness, and then it becomes completely without any contrivance whatsoever, which is Churchow, Nishpapancha, and then you get to the. Let's go more. Is it the next one? Have I missed one out? Oh yes, equal taste. So this again, when you come to the last verse, that's very much about equal taste. Everything is the same. Everything is good. Everything is perfect. So the equalness. This is where Rinpoche is always talking about equalness. That's the one taste, and then there's no more learning. So you're at the stage where in a way, there's no more path because there's nothing more to learn. But it's quite interesting when you get to when we closely question Khenpo Rinpoche about this. Getting enlightened in one lifetime, and these yogins being totally enlightened, and yet somehow they're still practicing. What's really going on then? He said, well, we say it's enlightenment when you reach, that Gommet level. But actually, you carry on developing the powers, getting rid of subtle, traces of stuff gets removed, and you get more and more skills in. And he said that goes on the same as in the Mahayana. I mean, that just goes on indefinitely, really. So he said, but the thing is, it's fun after that. So you get to that stage, he says, after that it's only fun, so you might as well call it enlightenment. Yeah, okay, I see where you're coming from, but it could be a bit confusing, couldn't it? So they're still learning even after they've reached full enlightenment. But it's all compassion, you see. It's all about finding ways of more ways of reaching more and more beings and more skillfully. So that can't be bad, can it? Somebody just as we came in, somebody asked me about the Ngundra.
It was me, yeah.
So it's a bit off the topic, but
it is a bit off the top.
But I don't mind answering it.
I suppose because you spoke about Mahamudra and Dzogchen, which I know nothing about, except I know the words. And
But at least you know nothing about them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's already good.
Yeah. And I know they're very attractive people nowadays.
Yeah.
And I also know that it is said by some people, not me, that you have to, unless you've been through the non-Dro, you can't even begin to approach those things.
So what I would say to that
So that's
is,
what I'm asking you.
what I would say, what they're calling the Ngundra, these preliminary practices, as far as I'm concerned, they're already Vajrayana.
Yeah.
So they're not a preparation for Vajrayana, good practices to do within the Vajrayana system.
Yes.
So I always think, what do you mean it's a preparation for Vajrayana? Because, if you'd have to have already Vajrayana teaching to even know that you're prostrating to the Yidam and protectors and Dakinis, because that's not ordinary Buddhism, is it? So, and you'd already have to have a connection with Vajrayana. If you're going to have Vajrasattva as a Yidam, you need to have had an Adhisthana Abhishek for it, so it would already be Vajrayana. And maybe the Mandala offerings, you could argue that they were not. But then you get to the Guru Yoga, which is the essence of Vajrayana. So as far as I'm concerned, calling it preliminary practices is just a custom.
Okay, but forget that the term preliminary practice.
Right. Now what I would say is that yes, they're all good practices, and that yes, we all need to do it, but we don't need to do it in that format.
Okay.
So if you're doing the 7 branches of prayer, you're doing the frustrations, you're doing the confession, you're doing the offerings, you're doing, well, if you're going to do Guru Yoga, that's essential. I mean, it's not a preliminary, it is actually the essence of Vajrayana. So yes, you do have to do that.
Yeah.
You have to do it for the rest of your life. And the other practices you do for the rest of your life too. So just to say, you have to do 100,000 in this particular format, in this particular way, I just don't believe it. It's clearly not the case, because this is quite a recently developed, in the last, I don't know how many 100 years, the last few 100 years, it became the standard way of practicing 100,000 of these 4 things. And yes, it's a good thing to get people to do, and I've got nothing against the practices, but to say that you have to do it in that format is clearly not true. You can do it in all sorts of ways, and you can continue to the whole of your life doing those 4 practices in one shape, some form or other, which we do. So I certainly say that it's essential, but not in that format. Yeah, and I find more and more lamas are saying that now. More and more of them are saying, well, you can just do 100 of each, or 1,000 of each, or 10,000 of each, or whatever. Or then they might even adapt it even more. Khenpo Rinpoche sometimes says, well, the real preliminary, which is correct, the real preliminary is doing progressive stages of meditation on emptiness, because the view, it's essential to get the view right.
The view is empty.
To get the understand to some extent what emptiness means, in order to understand what any of the rest of it means.
Exactly.
So I do see that as definitely a preliminary, and I appreciate that Rinpoche said that. And I was talking to Drubin Khenpo a few years back about this, and saying, well, Khenpo Rinpoche said that was a preliminary, and he said, yes, he told us too that was a preliminary, and then he said we had to do these 100,000. So we weren't let off the hook. But, they're good practices, so why not, But it's just as you say, it's just whether you call them preliminaries or not, and whether you say that particular format is essential or not. And I'd say no, it's not. It's clearly not essential.
No, she did it partly that is because that's from the Tibetan culture, and here in the West, it's seen more alien.
You could, but I don't say it for that reason. I say it more because, they say it, that you have to do it because it's become Tibetan custom. But they don't all say that, and they didn't always say that forever before they started this custom. And I agree with the fact that, you don't have to say that. So, and I'd say that would be the same for Tibetan as well as for us. But I think it's particularly inappropriate for us because it introduces too much too quickly in a way that is actually not very inspiring. So I think doing it slowly and gradually building up faith, which is essential. And the reason why Tibetans can do it so easily is because they have so much faith from the time they, learn to walk. So they've got so much faith, and it just carries them through everything. They often don't have a better understanding than we do when they do it, but they do have a lot of faith. So it makes up for it. But I think what we need to focus on is developing faith.
It's very difficult in our society, isn't it? Because faith is really looked down on as being.
Well, yes, it's probably not the right word, but whatever the right word is.
I mean, the idea of truth is now there isn't. It's in an intellectual circle anyway. There's not such a thing as truth,
I know.
and that's one of the things.
Yes, that has to change.
Yeah, it's always been like that, hasn't it? There is no such thing as truth.
No, what I'm saying, it has to change. This is the modern idea. It's all relativism.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's the end of intelligent thought, to be honest. And it's just saying, let's not talk about it. You think what you want to think, and I'll think what I want to think, and then that's peace. And you think, that's not thinking. That's
and that there is something. There is, when I've heard people talk about Buddhism, they speak about the truth. This is the truth.
Yeah, no, definitely. And the Buddha said, he said, I know.
Yeah.
You know, other people can't say they know because they don't know, but I do know. And you think, oh, wow, that's a challenge. You know, and then he tells you how to find out the same. Yeah. I can point it out to you.
Yeah. That's the difference, isn't it, between so-called religion
and what the Buddha taught. Yeah, the Buddha didn't taught a system. He taught you how to look. Yeah. He said, I'm teaching you how to look. You have to look. I can only show you how to look.
Find the truth out for yourself.
It's not a view. It's not something that I can. This is what it is, and I can tell you, and you can believe it, and it's going to work.
Not a belief system.
Yeah, it's not a belief system. It's just, I think, that's the point, isn't it? Yeah. It's not a belief system.
It's not a belief system.
Nonetheless,
there is all sorts of religious things in Buddhism, singing and.
Well, that's the thing. That actually, although in essence it's not a belief system, because you say science isn't a belief system because you have to prove it for yourself. Well, there's loads of beliefs in science.
Absolutely.
People have. I mean, it's full of beliefs, and it's the same in Buddhism. That you have your sort of framework of beliefs that you use to then test to get to the truth. So from that point of view, it's a similar method to science. But I think the parallel stops there because we're looking
inward.
Yeah, we're looking at our true nature, whereas science is kind of already projected out onto a conceptual reality, and then he's looking at that in a conceptual way, but that's not the same thing that we're doing.
Looking at the mind that's doing the looking.
Yeah, exactly. Which, when you look, something major has to give, and they kind of know something major has to give. That's why they don't go anywhere near it. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting to what extent it's culturally determined. Like your question. I think there's, you really have to look at starting point. We're starting from a very different starting point from Tibetans. And so they can make assumptions that work for Tibetans that don't work for us. But the basic, what's being taught is exactly the same. I mean, I don't think I'm teaching anything different, and it's what's quite interesting is if I had to explain to a Tibetan what I'm teaching is the Discovering the Heart of Buddhism course, I would sum it up in one word. I'd say I'm teaching them Depa, faith. And I know Tibetans would just, thank you. That's what Westerners need, that's what they haven't got. I said, I know. But we're finding a way that we can develop it. And they just as completely happy with that. I mean, what else would you be doing? I mean, what else do you need? This is it. Whatever faith means, but that's what I'm trying to teach you, that's what it means. It's interesting, isn't it? Like that one word in Tibetan just says it all. Whereas if you say faith in English, you have to years of training. Depa.
But everything's faith, even in this culture. People buy pills and they have the faith that they're going to feel better.
Yes, so I'm teaching it in a special way. I'm teaching the Depa, Shraddha. I'm teaching Shraddha, which isn't quite the same range of meaning as faith in English.
Yeah, it's become solid, hasn't it, in the West?
Yeah, definitely.
Because of fundamentalist religion.
In all sorts of ways.
That's
Smriti is mindfulness, isn't it?
With balance.
Oh yes, Smriti, balancing the Shraddha and the Prajna. Yeah.
The bird that flies from the very beginning.
That's right, yeah. Right.
Garuda.
The Shruti, the five Indriyas. You know, I don't feel I'm deviating from what's traditional. And, you know, when you're training in DHB, THB, then you look at the traditional texts. It's very easy for me then to explain them to you.
What is DH?
This is the course that I teach,
right.
the Discovering the Heart of Buddhism. So that's my aim, and so many people report to me that yes, they can understand the traditional texts because they've already trained in DHB and THB, and say, I can see what it's all about. So I think, yeah, that's my aim. Okay, so we could sing it one more time, couldn't we? This is following Temperature tradition. Singing songs. There's a whole lot of power in my view, free from extremes beyond concepts. There's a whole lot of power right here in the heart of what's been pure from the very start. There's a whole lot of power in my meditation, undistracted and reference-free. A whole lot of power is what I find in the great clear light, the great clear light. There's a whole lot of power when I act, because whatever happens, I relax. There's a whole lot of power flowing easily when actions are natural, relaxed and free. There's a whole lot of power in the result of pure reality recognizing itself. There's a whole lot of power in the fruit of this great variety being naturally free. There's a whole lot of power in my Samaya. I precisely follow the Lama's commands. There's a whole lot of power because nothing is wrong. No vows have been broken, no harm has been done. There's a whole lot of power in my practice because whatever happens, I adapt to it. There's a whole lot of power because in the end, all appearances are my friends. I say all appearances are my friends. So we're especially grateful to Mixing Shikpo for this day, because we never would have come together for this day without his leading us on.